there are things we can do about this kind of problematic news coverage, whether it pertains to uh, indigenous people,
Yeah.
black people, people of color.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so this is clearly unfair and racialized news coverage,
Mm.
and I would say never underestimate the power of a letter to the editor.
Mm-hmm.
You write a letter to the editor, you
Mm-hmm.
can get comments on that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they publish all of this online as well as in
Mm-hmm.
print format, and
Mm-hmm.
so that in itself, I think, can
Mm-hmm.
create. It's a way of trying to engage in the conversation and change its course
Mm-hmm.
slightly,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's only ever so slightly.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's really great for us to get that conversation out into the fresh air. So
Mm-hmm.
discuss these kinds of problematic news
Mm-hmm.
stories, this racialized coverage with our colleagues. Start
Yeah.
talking about it to say, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I saw this in the newspaper, and
Yeah.
this is how Indigenous people and water defenders were referred to, and it's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So to get that conversation happening across your entire social network,
Mm-hmm.
ideally,
Mm-hmm.
try to access Indigenous news stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like like I said, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times I think the problem is Canadians just don't know the backstory.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that most Canadians, if they're presented with the full picture,
Mm-hmm.
all the information, that most Canadians are fair-minded. Most
Mm-hmm.
settlers are fair-minded. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter if you're
Mm-hmm.
fair-minded or not if you don't have the information, right? Then you're much
Mm-hmm.
more easily led astray.
Right.
So check out Indigenous news stories because they
Yeah.
do include more history and context and give you a different take.
Mm-hmm.
Same with alternative media in general. And then utilize social media to retweet and share Indigenous and alternative news stories in social media. So, if you come across something really interesting in the Indigenous press or in an alternative news source,
Mm-hmm.
circulate it among your social network.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, you can always file a complaint with the newspaper. You can still do that.
Okay.
They have to take those seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that something will happen immediately, but file a complaint, especially in the more egregious cases.
Mm-hmm.
Same with, we have something called the Canadian National News Media Council, which is a
Mm-hmm.
self-regulatory body of the newspaper
Mm-hmm.
industry. So file a complaint there, especially because there is one criteria that reads, does the story contain racism, sexism, or
Mm-hmm.
bias against a social, religious, or political group? So, I mean, those are some practical suggestions, but I think the main point is we can't just ignore it. We can't
Yeah.
just say, well, I don't agree with that, or it's a bit disturbing, or it bothers me a bit. I think we need to go further than that. We need to
Yeah.
try to engage in the conversation.
Yeah.